think we discussed the sex determination in different organisms. Honeybees, Drosophila, humans. Okay. And we did some questions. Okay, cool. Last class was test as well, correct? We had the test. Okay, then Rifat, can you quickly give me a brief recap of the last class? What we studied, what we learned?
Wasn't there in the last two classes.
Oh, you missed last two classes? Yes, you
Yes.
did. Yes. Where were you? Why did you miss classes?
Sir, I had my units going on.
Ah, okay. Last week, many students were having the, I think it's the school exam time in Middle East, right?
Yes.
Okay, then Atif, coming to you. Would you like to quickly revise? Give me a quick recap of the last class? Just the sex determination part.
Yes, so we learned about sex determination and the different types of sex determination. So the first type is the XY system, which is seen in humans. So humans have two types of sex chromosomes, that is the X chromosome and Y chromosome. Males have the
Yes.
XY chromosome and female have the XX chromosome.
Yes.
So since the Y chromosome is the one that's like the different from the other chromosomes, males are the one which are responsible for the sex of the offspring. Then we saw
Yes.
the ZW system, which is present in birds, for example, chicken. Unlike in humans, in ZW system, females have the ZW chromosome and males have the ZZ chromosome. So females are the one which are responsible for the sex of the offspring.
Yes, they are heterogametic, right?
Yes, sir.
Remember these terms, heterogametic, homogametic, because the language, this is the language of the examinations. Yes, tell me. Continue.
Yes, so we also learned about the sex determination in honeybees. So we learned about the different castes of honeybees. In a beehive, there are three types of bees: the queen bee, the worker bee, and the drone bee. The queen bee is the only fertile female in the hive. Worker
Yes.
bees are the sterile females, and drone bees are fertile males. And then we learned about the sex determination of honeybees, which is known as haplodiploid system of sex determination. So we learned that female bees, that is the queen bee, has 32 chromosomes, and male bees, that is the drone bees, have 16 chromosomes.
So, and also worker bees also have 32 chromosomes, okay? But I have not used it here because they do not reproduce.
Okay, so
yeah.
So yes, the queen bee produces gametogenesis through the meiosis. So it has a gamete, it produces gametes containing 16 chromosomes. The queen bee can either mate to the male to fertilize. The male sperm containing 16 chromosomes will fertilize with the female egg containing 16 chromosomes to form a diploid female, or the queen bee can undergo parthenogenesis, that is formation of embryo without the fertilization, to form haploid males.
Yes, right. And we also discussed that male honeybees do not have fathers or grandfathers, and they also do not have, sorry, they do not have fathers and sons, but they have grandfathers and grandsons, right? Females have everyone. That's possible. Okay, so we have Hanifa also joining, Hanifa and Heba. Good evening, Hanifa. Good evening, Heba.
Good evening.
Am I audible, Heba?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very well. So I ask you to go and look as in homework in different types, other types of sex determination, apart from the one discussed above. And I gave you the hint that mostly you have to go and look for temperature dependent sex determination. So did you figure out something interesting about this? Anyone? Anyone found something? No? You didn't do the homework? No one found something on temperature dependent sex determination? If not, then you have to take this homework like again So you are going to do it today then. Please find it. It's very interesting. When you will bring some things to the discussion, I will explain you some more concepts that are not in NCERT, but can be useful for your entrance. Okay. So for that, you have to first do some homework. Okay. I'm also giving you, let me tell you, you have to look for, start looking with lizards and tortoise. Okay. Tortoise and turtle. Start looking at these. In these organisms, how does sex determination happen? And if you want to write down some model organisms, snails, lizards, tortoises, and turtles. Just look at these. And also look at cockroach. Cockroach comes in your entrance. Okay. You will do this time, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, very well. So today we'll be starting so we studied about the Mendelian genetics. Fatima is also joining in. Okay, good evening, Fatima. I'm audible. She's not connected to the audio, I think. Okay, so we are starting with mutation in today's class. And to begin with mutation, tell me, what do you think? What is mutation? Anyone knows mutation? What is mutation?
Like the alteration in the gene.
Yes, right. But is any alteration in the gene, can we say that it's a mutation?
No, sir.
Then what kind of alteration are called mutation?
Like one that is not done naturally, like due to external.
So naturally also, like when the mutation happens, it is the change in the DNA. It can also happen naturally. Okay. Without, but again, in nature also there has to be a mechanism, and that mechanism can be a mutagen or something like a UV or something, or some kind of a mistake while replicating the DNA can also cause mutation. So you are right that mutation is a alteration in DNA. That's correct. I'm asking what kind of alteration? What does that alteration do? So this alteration should be inheritable. You understand? So if
Yes.
this mutation happens, or it goes to the germ cell or the gametes, then this mutation has to be taken over to the next generation. Okay, so let's define mutation. Write down. Mutation is the alteration in DNA sequences alteration or changes in DNA sequences which consequently is a consequence which consequently also changes the genotype and the phenotype. You understand? Okay, everyone? Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes. Now, when I say it changes the genotype and the phenotype, of course, when there will be a change in genotype, you will see some change in phenotype, right? But next question is, how will then these mutations go to the next generation? Any idea?
Sir, can you repeat what you asked?
I asked how, because suppose in an organism there is a mutation that happened, because of which that organism's let's say color changed. Okay. Now, in the next generation, I'm asking, will the color change? Let's say the organism became yellow from brown. Will the progenies also be yellow, or will they be brown only?
That depends on the law of dominance.
Law of dominance. Law of dominance comes after there are two alleles present. I'm talking about here. Let's say this mutation is a dominant mutation. So will all mutations be passed on to the next generation is my question. What do you think? Suppose someone got a mutation in the eye. Which mutations, or someone was exposed to UV radiation and because of mutation he got skin cancer. Now will the progenies also have skin cancer? Think about it. Remember the concepts of first unit, reproduction. What do you think? How are things passed on to the next generation? What things organism make which they fertilize with each other to give rise to the next generation?
They will be passed on to next generation.
Sorry?
They will
Come
be
again?
passed on to next generation.
Oh, how? How is the next generation formed? See, it's a very simple
Because
question.
there is a DNA replication, so they'll receive the same DNA.
You forgot chapter 3. There is gamete formation. We make sperms and ovum which we mix to form the next generation, the next zygote. A very simple answer. We make gametes, those gametes fuse and give rise to the next generation. Yes? That was reproduction. Simple. Yes or no?
Yes.
No difficult answers to be given. Simple. Now, which kind of mutations will pass on and how will the mutations pass on? Only those mutations will pass on to the next generation, which will be carried by the gametes. Yes or no?
Yes.
If someone's skin is exposed to UV and the skin got some DNA mutation, are we making gametes from the skin?
No, sir.
No. So though there is a mutation in that person's skin cells, those skin cells are not responsible for making gametes. So that mutation will not go in gametes. So it will not be shown in the next generation. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
But if there is some mutation that goes into the gametes, like a systemic mutation or some mutation which was by birth present in the parent, then that parent will make gametes which will have that mutation. And that kind of mutation is called hereditary mutation. So write down mutations that are passed on. Mutations that are passed on from one generation to another through gametes. Through gametes are known as hereditary mutation. Is it clear? Yes?
Yes.
Very good. Now, so mutation, can I say that? So what happens when there is mutation in an organism? There are changes, and because of these changes, can we say that mutations are a reason for variation in organisms? Can I say yes or no? Because of mutations, there are changes in the genes, and mutation is one reason to create variation, difference in various organisms of the same species. Yes? Are you understanding what I'm saying, everyone? Fatima,
Yes.
am I audible to you? Hiba. See, if you are going to be mute in my class, then it's going to be boring, both from your side and my side. I can just keep telling everything that you need to know. That will be one way to study, but there'll be no difference between you studying from a book or from your school teachers. You pay something extra to come here online, dedicate your time and study from a person who's sitting thousands of miles away from you through a laptop screen. So you better come with something that also gives you enthusiasm to come. Is it pressure? Are you pressurized from your parents that you have to sit in front of that screen for 2 hours? No, right? I hope you have some career objectives in head and you are here to learn, right? So you have to discuss, right? If you do not bring to the table discussion, then it will be a unidirectional flow of knowledge. I'll be the transmitter, you will be the receiver. You will receive what you wish to receive. Other things will go above your head. So mutation is a very, very interesting thing in biology, because remember when I started with the first chapter, I told you asexually reproducing organisms cannot have variation. But I also told you, as we will progress in the syllabus, when we will come to genetics, I will tell you that even asexually reproducing organisms can have variation in their systems. So what we studied in chapter 1, we are proving it wrong here in chapter 5. But you have to understand how and why. You understand, it's a stepwise thing. It is true that in asexual reproducing organism, if we assume there is no mutation, then there is no variation. So mutation is something which is a sudden change in DNA, right? That has nothing to do with sexual reproduction. It can happen. And if that happen in gametes or is carried by gametes, then it is transferred to the next generation. But if it happens in an asexually reproducing organism, then also it's transferred to the next generation without any gametes, because all asexually reproducing organisms are clones of the parents. Am I correct?
Yes.
Do you understand this? So if I mutate, if in nature there is a mutation in any gene in an asexually reproducing organism, for example, let's say in bacteria, then how do bacteria divides? Fission, right? Binary fission. And before it divides, it replicates its DNA. Yes.
Yes.
And when it will replicate, it will replicate the mutation also. And the offsprings will also be like the parents, which are mutants, different from all other bacteria of the same species living in the colony. You understand, everyone?
Yes, sir.
And now do you understand why I asked you a question in the first chapter, that if bacteria reproduces asexually, then the bacteria that we were able to kill through antibiotics 50 years ago, why are we not able to kill them now?
Because they
Many
become
of them have.
resistant.
How did they become resistant? What is resistance? It is not some exercise they did and built their muscles, no? What happened in their genome? Mutations happened. Mutations are random, spontaneous, and we do not know about it, when it can happen, where it can happen. But once it happens, and if it is in the benefit of the organism, it stays in the genome. If it is harmful to the organism will die. But some mutation which allows the bacteria to survive antibiotics now will be retained in the bacterial genome. Do you understand?
Yes.
Let me give you an example. Let me explain you this way. Suppose there was a bacteria which could not tolerate. Why do we boil water before we drink it? Or when someone is ill, not good with immunity, we always give that person boiled water. We boil the water, cool it, and then give to the person. What happens after boiling?
All the germs in the water are killed.
What are these germs? Germs is a very common term. Germ means bacteria, fungi, fungal spores, protozoa, viruses, right?
Yes, sir.
But when we boil the water, do we kill all the bacteria in the water?
No.
Maybe not. So there is a bacteria, let's say, and that bacteria has a gene which was doing something. Let's say this bacteria was helping in, sorry, this gene was helping the bacteria in some kind of a survival thing. Suddenly there is a mutation in that gene, and this same gene got mutated. There is a change in that gene, and now this mutated gene can allow the bacteria to tolerate higher temperatures, to tolerate heat. So will killing this bacteria be easy now by boiling?
No.
No, right? This is how there are many bacteria which can even live in hot springs. You know hot springs, hot geysers.
Yes, sir.
So in the water of hot geysers or hot springs, you will find bacteria. The name of one such bacteria is Thermos Aquaticus. What does the word thermos means?
Heat.
And Aquaticus means?
Living in water.
Yes. Thermos Aquaticus is a bacteria which lives in very, very hot springs. It can even survive the temperature of the boiling water, because in hot springs, the water is boiling, right? So that genetic
Yes.
variation can still come through mutation. So mutation, write down. In addition to, what is the other way through which genetic variation occurs, which we have studied above?
Crossing over of chromosomes.
Yes, perfect. And what it is called? Recombination event, right?
Yes.
Okay, so write down. Apart from recombination, mutation is another way to create variation. Mutation is another way to create variation among organisms. Okay. So do you understand that mutation can happen in all organisms, whether they are sexually reproducing or they are asexually reproducing? They just need to have DNA. If they have DNA, that DNA can have some changes, some alterations. Okay. So now do you
Yes.
understand that even in asexually reproducing organisms, it is possible to have variation through mutations? Yes, but mutations does not happen very fast and in all the organisms, and most of the time the mutations are not useful. Very few mutations are useful. Can you tell me why do you think most of the mutations are harmful? Why very few mutations are useful? You are just changing the DNA, right? Everyone, am I audible?
Yes.
So you have a painting already. You made a painting. Mutation is like, I closed my eyes, I dipped the brush in the paint and touched anywhere on the painting. So out of 100, like only like 5 times out of 100 times, I may touch somewhere where it will just impart to the painting, right? Where I touched
Yes.
with green on a green area and the tree became even better. Most of the time, the chances are I will ruin the painting, right?
Yes, sir.
Are you understanding or not?
Yes, sir.
No one is interested. So the chances of anything which is already functional, DNA is already there. We are functional. Organisms are living from millions of years. It's stable. Now something just randomly changes. It's just like randomly tweaking the painting anywhere, just touching the painting with color anywhere. So maximal times that will be degrading, right? Damaging it. Suppose the mutation happened in some very important gene for glucose formation, or for metabolism, or for eye formation, or for brain formation. So all these are important genes. You are making just random changes, so something can go wrong. But just by chance, 1 out of 100 times, 2 out of 100 times, something can even improve, right? Because it's a chance. Yes.
Yes, sir.
So that's why constructive mutation, helpful mutations are very, very less in nature. So that's why it's a very slow process to evolve through mutation, but it can happen. Variations do occur through mutations. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Very good. Now write down. We will study about write down the factors that causes mutations. Factors that cause mutations are known as mutagens. Okay, mutagens. Now this mutagens can be either chemical mutagens, so some chemical which can cause mutation, and for example, just remember one that have been asked in entrance. Nitrosourea is a chemical mutagen, and one other it could be physical mutagen, and this you already know, UV radiation, right? Correct. UV radiation can cause mutations. So either it could be a physical factor or a chemical factor, but the factors are called mutagens. Okay. Now detailed mechanism is beyond your syllabus, and if any one of you pursues genetics in higher education, then you will study about mutagenesis in detail at the molecular level, what happens to the DNA. And it's not like whenever there is a mutation or any change in the DNA, our cell is okay with it. Cell tries to do the course correction. Cell tries to proofread, but it cannot correct all the time. Okay, so that's the issue where mutations occur. One example of a disease that is caused by mutation, you know, any disease that is caused by mutation, you know, sickle cell anemia. You know what is sickle cell anemia? People? Sickle cell anemia. Anemia. Okay, tell me anemia. No one knows anemia.
The loss of blood. Oh,
Less number of RBCs or the change. So in sickle cell anemia, RBC should look like this. They are round, you know, like this, and this part is little bit of concave, right? So if you look from side, you will see that they have a shape like this, correct? Yes. Instead, this shape changes to a sickle cell. So if the shape changes to this, that's called a sickle cell anemia. Now there is deficiency of hemoglobin or the red blood cells. Do you understand, everyone? So the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood decreases. Yes. So that is called by a single gene, a single base mutation in the gene. Okay. So just remember this as an example. Okay, so any doubt with mutation? No doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, then let's go to genetic disorders. So the next thing that you are going to study is genetic disorders. Now, genetic disorders are of two types: Mendelian disorders and non-Mendelian. If it is happening at the genetic level, like at the level of genes, it is known as Mendelian disorder because it can be explained through Mendel's law, okay, of inheritance. But if it is at the level of chromosome, where the chromosome number itself is getting affected, for example, let's say the chromosome, any chromosome became, instead of 2 copies of it, there is a 3 copy in the cell, or instead of 2 copies, there is only 1 copy in the cell. In that kind of problems, where chromosomal ploidy changes, then it's called non-Mendelian or chromosomal disorder. So in genetic disorder, before we go into what is that, let's try to understand how do we study it. So we study genetic disorders through pedigree analysis. And this is a very, very hot topic for your entrances and boards both. Pedigree analysis is a very logical, interesting concept. You have to just understand it, and then it's easy to read. So first, write down what is pedigree analysis. Write down pedigree analysis is the study of family history about regarding or about inheritance of any gene, trait, disorder, disease, etc. through symbolic representation. Through symbolic representation of the generations. That's called pedigree analysis. As kids, you all must have done this holiday homework where you have to make a family tree, a family chart. You've made it, where you
Yes, sir.
make your parents' photo, then you connect grandparents, then you connect you and your siblings with that, right? Have you done it?
Yes, sir.
It's the same thing, but we do it for research and medicinal purposes or for diagnostic purposes. Now, in this kind of tree or pedigree analysis, there are certain symbols. So let's first understand the symbols. So a square is a symbol for male. Okay. Whereas a circle is a symbol for female. Okay.
Yes,
Then if you know that there is an organism, some member, but you do not know the sex of gender of that member, that in this family tree there were 3 kids, and you know that one was a boy, one was a girl, but other one you don't know whether it was a boy or a girl. You have no information about it in the medical history. So we represent that as a diamond. Okay. This. So this is sex which is unspecified. Okay. And all these 3, whether it is a square or a circle or a diamond, if they are colored, now technically this color should be red because, but in your exams it will be black. So if there is a circle which is colored or a square which is colored, or this thing which is colored, it means affected individuals or diseased individuals. What does it mean? Do you understand?
Yes,
Everyone? Now, if I show between a male and a female a single bond connection, then this means a marriage. Okay, mating partners or marriage. Clear?
yes.
But if there are two arrows between a male and a female, then what does this represent? This represents mating or marriage between relatives. Relatives means the common ancestors of both the relatives are same somewhere up the line. So it's known as consanguineous marriage. Marriage between among cousins, etc., where you can actually trace the genetic lineage between the two, and they might have same ancestors up the line. It's called consanguineous marriages or close marriages. Now, coming to what else you need to know. Yes. So if let's make a pedigree. So if this is the pedigree, this means that the parents, so this generation is the parent, and this is the F1 or the first generation, and this represents that the parents are above and below are the offsprings. And also we can know about their sequence of birth. So from left to right as we go, this is the order of birth. Okay, from left to right. Is it clear, everyone? So just by looking at a pedigree, we can say that for this couple, they had a elder son, then younger daughter, and then the youngest son. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear? So from this side to this side, this is the first born, second born, and third born. Okay, youngest one. And if any of this is colored, then what does this mean?
It is affected.
Yes, that this child is an affected or diseased child. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
Sometimes in some books, though it's not in NCERT, let me also tell you, but the pedigree is, this kind of pedigree analysis is not asked much, but sometimes when you know that there are more than one kid, so you make a square or a circle, or you don't know about the sex. In all these situations, if there is a number written, let's say 3, so this means that there were 3 males. Okay, 3 unaffected. In this case, males, females, and offsprings. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So instead of making 3 boxes, you can just make 1 and write 3 because all 3 were not affected. But this is not used much in pedigree analysis. And just make these first, make all this, and then let me know when you're done. Meanwhile, let me. You all can still see the screen, right? Yes or no? People, can you still see the screen?
Yes, but like it's cut off. I can't see the written part of the half.
Okay. You can see now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Is it all noted, everyone? Then we will start with some concepts and how to read this pedigree. A lot of questions on pedigree has been asked in previous years in entrances. Because if you understand the pedigree, it's very easy. You can do it quickly. If you do not understand, it can take a lot of time. And even though it will be a very easy question, it will just take your time and make the entrance difficult for you. So these are the ways how they make entrance difficult. It's not like they will ask you something which you have never heard of. Very rarely it will happen. Let me know when you are done. We'll start with the concepts. Has pedigree analysis been done in your schools? Rifat, Atif, Hiba?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Fatima and Hanifa. So I'm expecting answers from you. Fatima, Hanifa, in your school, has pedigree analysis been done? Done?
No, it's not
Okay, very
done
good.
for me.
Not done. Okay, Hanifa? Hanifa? Can hear me? No. Okay, done. So cool. So I'm expecting right answers. So before that, let me tell you some concepts. The first is the kind of disorders that we are going to study, like the Mendelian disorders. So write down the first is the Mendelian disorders. The first kind of genetic disorders. Now these could be, as you know, the Mendelian genes can be autosomal or sex linked, right? Yes or no? The genes are either on the autosomal chromosome or they are on the X chromosome. So sex linked are which are present on X chromosome. Do you understand, everyone? Autosomal are any gene which is present on chromosome 1 to 22, regardless. Now this autosomal also can be of two types. The gene can either be dominant, right? Or recessive. Similarly, sex linked can also be, the gene can either be dominant or recessive. You understand, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Now, autosomal diseases, what is the difference between a dominant and a recessive disease? Can you tell me on the basis of what we studied about dominant or recessive genes? What is the difference between a dominant gene and a recessive gene?
A dominant gene will express itself in heterozygous or homozygous conditions, while
Yes.
recessive genes will express themselves in only homozygous conditions.
Yes. Now let's not talk about the gene condition. Let's talk about generation, because we are doing pedigree analysis. So what you can tell about a dominant gene and a recessive gene with respect to generations? The same statement, Atif, just make the same statement. Instead of hetero combinations, use generations. What can you say? Make the same statement. Just replace heterozygous and homozygous with generations. So what can you say? Rifat? Dominant genes express in every generation. Yes. Recessive genes are masked in the F1 generation, then they come back again in the next generation, right? recessive genes skip generations? Yes or no?
Yes.
People. I think either you are not interested or you do not know. Capital T, small t, parent generation. What will be the genotype of the F1 generation?
All will be capital T small.
All will be tall. So dominant gene is expressed in F1. Now let's self-cross. Capital T, small t, capital T. What will be the in the next generation? Capital T, small t, capital T, small t. Capital T, capital T, capital T, small t, capital T, small t, small t, small t. Still there are tall plants, right? It was present in parent generation, it was present in F1, it was present in F2. Tall. Tallness was always there because it's a dominant gene. Recessive was present in parent, absent in F1, then again present in F2. Yes?
Yes.
So recessive genes skips generation, dominant genes are expressed in every generation. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Very good. So that is one thing you can say about autosomal dominant and autosomal recessive. Same is with sex linked, but here the transfer of that character will differ because sex linked is related to X chromosome. Now, how many X chromosomes do females have?
Sorry, sir.
How many X chromosomes do females have? Women have
2.
X and X. So X chromosome, they can give the X chromosome to
2.
either the male, they can also give X chromosome to female, right? When they make gametes,
Yes.
any gamete can go to the male and any gamete can go to the female, yes or no? Because human females are homogametic, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
What about males? They are decisive. They only give X chromosome to daughters. And they only give Y chromosome to sons, right?
Yes, sir.
So if a mother has a sex-linked disorder, from mother, it can be inherited by either the son or the daughter, right?
Yes, sir.
But if a father has a sex-linked disorder, from that father, it can only go to daughter. A father cannot pass on a sex-linked disease to a son. Is it clear? But a mother can. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Write down this. Whatever I'm speaking, you have to write down. Same thing about dominant and recessive, that this does not skip generations. This skips generations. So is the concept clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Now let me find some questions for you. I have a question. Yes. Good question. Yes. So I'm giving you a last year's question from previous year question. Let me cut this question out. Paste it here. So everyone can see the thing that I've inserted here, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Yes, question number 93. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Will you please read this for me, Fatima?
Yes, study the pedigrees chart of a family showing the inheritance of myotonic dystrophy.
Myotonic dystrophy is a disease which is also known as muscular dystrophy. In this disease, the muscles are wasted away. The muscle starts to degenerate in a very young person. So muscles die, degrade. Okay. The word myo means myo. Myo people, muscle. Okay. Now let's read the pedigree. So I want all of you to, who will help me? Hanifa is finding it. Hanifa, can you speak up? It has been done in your school, right? Can you speak up, Hanifa? No, you have to just help me. Okay. Heba, can you speak up?
Walaikum Assalam, Khairiyat.
No. Okay, Rifat.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please help me with this. Let's start reading the pedigree. Now tell me, this is the parent generation, right?
Yes.
This is the first generation. And this is the second generation. Correct?
Yes.
Correct. Now tell me about what do you understand from mother.
The mother is affected.
Mother is affected, right? And the father is?
Not affected.
So this is affected mother, normal father. Now, can you please read this and tell me about F1? How many kids they have? This couple has how many kids?
4.
4 kids. First born,
Not
second
affected.
born. Yes, second born. Also tell the
Affected.
sex. First born is a
This
female.
female
affected.
and not affected. Unidentified and affected.
No, unidentified. This is male. It's a
Oh, yes,
square.
sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Male
Then?
unaffected.
Okay. Is this
Female
also there?
No.
No. Then female affected.
Affected.
Okay. Then what happens to in F2? The parent said, from this son, the son married another woman. Both are unaffected for muscular dystrophy. And they had 3 kids. All of them are normal, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And what about this parent, this couple?
The female child is affected.
Yes. Female child is. Now, what do you think? What kind of, first tell me, is it what do you think it's a autosomal or a sex-linked inheritance? Then we'll come to dominant or recessive.
Autosomal.
Why do you think it's autosomal? Why not sex-linked? Can't it be sex-linked?
Yes.
Can't it be autosomal?
Yes.
Don't give your answers because I am asking you in a tone where you have to say yes. Think. Okay, cool. If it is sex-linked, then in this case, 2 sons both are normal, but the female is affected, right?
Yes.
This is very highly unlikely, right? Because female can give X chromosome to both son and daughter alike. Am I correct or not?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So can you tell me out of the 4 options given here, this is an entrance question, which do you think is your answer, Rifat? And everyone has to write their options in the chat box to me, just to me. I want Rifat, Atif, Heba, everyone's independent answer. Analyze this and tell me. You're saying that it has happened in your school, so I'm expecting some right answers at least. So please tell me. No pressures, take your time and tell me. Yes, okay. I received 2 answers. Others? Quick. Hiba? Hiba, what do you think? Hiba, Fatima?
मैं बोलूं क्या? क्या?
We just have to go step by step. So I have received 3 answers and all 3 of them are correct. So I will go to Atif to explain. Okay, I've received Hiba's answer. Fatima, what's your answer? What do you think it is?
Autosomal dominant.
Which means C, option
Yeah.
C. Yeah. So would you like to explain me why do you think it is option C, Fatima?
Because in the first generation, a male child and a female child was affected.
Alike, right?
Yeah.
So
So
if it
if it was affected to a male child, it has to be autosomal, right?
that you cannot say with the first generation, that is what I'm trying to say. A female, in fact, the first, just by looking at this one going from parents to first generation, you can actually think that it is sex linked, because a female can give a X chromosome to a son also and to a daughter also, right?
Yes.
I think that is what made Hiba think that it is dominant X linked, right, Hiba? Because it is looking like a dominant X link. That's why you have to read the whole pedigree. So female can give a X to son and to daughter alike, and it is making sense, but it is not making sense now. In the next generation, why only a female is affected? Why no son is affected? This tells that it is not sex linked. Yes? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Same way, so if it is not sex linked, it has to be autosomal. Now let's say if autosomal makes sense. Yes, autosomal from a female can go to anyone, just like from male also, and from here also it can go to anyone. No point of that. So it has to be autosomal. Yes. Now dominant or recessive. Parent 1 also contains one person who is affected. First generation also contains 2 people who are affected. Second generation also contain 1 person who is affected. Is this disorder skipping generations?
No.
No. So what it has to be?
Autosomal dominant.
Do you understand why it has to be autosomal dominant, everyone?
Sir, one doubt. Can we explain why
Yes.
it's not sex linked through the concept of carrier females?
Sex linked through the concept of carrier females. See, if you are saying it is sex linked.
Sir, I'm not saying it's sex linked.
No. Yeah, I'm trying to explain. If we assume that this is a sex linked disease and this female is affected, right? Then, and you are also introducing the concept of carrier, then you mean to say that in this situation where one is normal and another X is diseased, in this situation, there will not be a disease, right?
Yes, sir, it should be a carrier.
It should be a carrier, which means what is this female? Clearly, this female is X diseased, right?
Yes, sir.
Then going by this logic, every son has to be affected, but this son is normal because there are 2 X's, right?
Yes, sir.
whichever X is given to the son, and sons only get X from the mother. Son do not get X from the father. So this father cannot come to rescue if it is a X sex-linked disorder. So this son also, if was affected, then you could have said that it is sex-linked, and you could have explained this as a carrier concept. Do you understand,
Yes, sir.
Atif?
Yes, sir.
Any other doubt? It was a good doubt. Good, beautiful. But do you understand, right?
Yes, sir. Understand.
Very good. So I'm giving you one more question, everyone, and this time I'll not help. I just need right answers from all of you. Please make your neurons work a little more. Just one moment. Let me find another question for you. Interesting one. So I'm giving you a little more complicated question from 2017. Okay. Let's see if you, how do you solve this? Do not get intimidated by the question because it looks difficult. It's not at all difficult. Atif, can you read the question for me, please? Atif, are you there?
Yes.
Yes, can you read the question?
Yes, sir. Study the given pedigree chart for sickle cell anemia and select the most appropriate option for all the genotypes.
Yes. So before we go to that, you know what is sickle cell anemia? Let me just give you as a hint. This will help you to solve. Sickle cell anemia is a autosomal recessive disorder. Okay. Now, please solve it within 2 minutes and give me the answer in the chat. Your time starts now. I've given you a hint here. This hint will not be given to you in entrance. So you have to know that sickle cell anemia is a autosomal recessive disorder. And it is also making sense if you see the generation, right? See, it is skipping this generation and then coming in this one, right? People, another hint just to know how to figure out things faster in entrance. Is it making sense, everyone? Fatima, Rifat,
Yes.
Eba? Yeah. Okay, give me the answer. HB is the gene for hemoglobin, okay? So if I say
HBS is the affected gene, right?
yes, I'll tell you.
Okay,
HbA means normal and HbS means sickled cell, sickled. Okay. And I was just, before you cropped out, Atif, I was just saying that this I gave you that it is autosomal recessive, but in entrances you will not get the hint, but you can figure out from the, without even, if I don't tell you, you can still figure out. See, it is skipping this generation, then coming in this generation, right? So it means it must have been present in the grandfathers here, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Give me the answer quickly, people in the chat. Take 2 minutes. I'll be just back with some. I'll get myself water. Okay. I'll back in a minute. I have just received one answer. Quick, everyone. You will not get this much time in entrance, okay? But it's okay. In the class, you can afford to be slow but correct. And then over time, you have to be fast. Okay, I will take Atif's help now to solve this. Atif, please lead me. What do we know about the parents? Are the two parents normal?
Yes, sir.
Then how did the next generation become diseased? They are not normal. They
Yes,
seems
sir.
to be
Since the
normal.
two parents are normal, but the offsprings are not normal, you can assume that it's recessive and that the two parents are carrying the defective gene.
Yes, then how are the two parents normal? They are not normal. They are carriers. Normals are which do not have any defect. So normal, carrier, and affected. What are the parents?
They are carriers of the defective gene.
Are both the parents carriers, or only one parent can be carrier?
Both are carriers.
Both has to be carrier, right? Because it's a recessive disorder. So if both are
Yes.
not carriers, then it will never come up in the next generation. Yes?
Yes.
So parent one has to be HbA and HbS, right? One normal, one sickled. Similarly, parent B has to be HbA and HbS, right? one normal, one sickled carrier. So that they are not affected. But in the next generation, this S and this S can come together in few kids. So it has come together in the second one and third one. So second and third is going to be HBS, right?
Yes, sir.
So the question is asking you the genotypes of the parents, which is true, and the genotype of the first and third child in F1. So which one is F1?
The second.
Yes, this is F1, right? And this is parent. So in F1 first. So first looks normal. Now it can be normal because this HPA can come, or it can be a carrier. One HBA, one HBS can come. We do not know about it. Do you understand?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
But third is of course going to be, third child is of course going to be HBS, right? So you have to find for the third child, which is HBS. These two are HBS. So either it can be C or D as the right answer. It cannot be A or B, right? Now let's see for parents what it says. So C says that one parent is HBA, which is not possible, right? We have already figured out for parents.
Yes.
So D is the right answer, correct? Everyone found D as the right answer? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I received 3 answers, all 3 are D. Very good. So you understood how to solve these, right?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So let me tell you about some diseases, some disorders, and then we'll move forward with some more pedigree analysis. It's simple, right? It's not very difficult. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
It's just logical. Once you understand the logic, it's simple. So write down. Let's start with the disorders. The first one, which we are going to study, is color blindness. Write down color blindness. Now, you must have studied in junior classes that we associate one vitamin with night blindness, right? There was one disease called night blindness. Now, night blindness and color blindness are different things. Don't get confused, first of all. And for night blindness, there was a vitamin that was affected. Deficiency of vitamin A causes night blindness, correct? But color blindness is a genetic disorder where you cannot see or perceive any particular color. And most of the times, the people do not know this because they just cannot see that color. So if you cannot see that color, you will never know that there is a color, right? It only can be detected when someone is going through this chromatic test where they are asked, what do you see on screen? And you know that it is red, but the person says, oh, it looks like gray, which means he cannot see red, right?
Yes, sir.
So these people cannot be given driving licenses or things or like flying licenses, because you need to see things the way they are, because a lot of color signs are there, road signs are colored, right? So if you cannot see that color, you will not be able to see the red light. You might jump it because you did not see it. So what causes color blindness? So first of all, what kind of disorder it is? Write down. It is a sex-linked recessive disorder. All the recessive disorders are still fine because the chances of you having normal kids are more, because recessive only can express when it is present as 2 together, right? But in case of sex linked, you know, being recessive is important. If something is sex linked and dominant, then it is catastrophic. How and why we will study after this. So write down, this is sex linked and recessive disorder. And the gene that is defected is, write down, the gene for the red or the green cone. You know, there are cone cells and rod cells in our eyes, people.
Yes, sir.
What are cone cells? What are rod cells? Quickly.
Cone cells help us to see in daylight, and rod cells help us to see during the dark.
How do you remember it, Atif? Do you find it difficult to remember, or you have just, you know it? If anyone finds difficult to remember, just know that C for color, C for cones. When can you see colors? In the day or in the night? In the day, when sunlight falls on something and then comes to your eyes and you can see that color. So the brighter the light, you can see colors. As it goes dim and there is darkness, you cannot see colors. So in darkness, if you have experienced, sometimes you wake up in your bedroom and it's dark, but you still can see something like gradation, right? A contrast. Yes. Where there will be a almirah, you will see that it is darker in contrast. Where there will be nothing, it will be lighter in contrast, but you do not see the color of the almirah, right? Yes, sir. Because we cannot perceive colors in low light. So cone cells help in color perception in the daylight or in the bright light. So cones, there are only 3 types of cones in our eyes, which gives rise to all the colors: red, green, and blue. They are called RGB, the basic colors, you know. You can make any color by using RGB, you know that? Yes, sir. All your mobile phone screens only has RGB lights. 1 red, 1 green, 1 blue. And you make all the colors on your screen through the combination of that. Similarly, so in the rod cell, in the cone cells, most of the times color blindness affects either the red or the green, right, Don? It affects either the red or the green cone of the eye. Affects either red or green cone. So most of the times people cannot perceive either red or green. Or they cannot discriminate between the two. They will see both and they both will look the same to them. Now write down. This happens due to mutation in genes. Mutations in genes present on X chromosome. Present on X chromosome. Okay. Now, the problem with this, remember I told you if a sex-linked disease is recessive or it's dominant, it's catastrophic, because how many X chromosomes do males have? How many? One. And how many X chromosomes do females have? 2. So the chances of a female getting both the diseased chromosome or mutated chromosome is less, right? Even if she gets one normal chromosome, she can prevent herself from being colorblind, right? But if these genes are only present on X chromosome and a male gets a defected X chromosome, even if it only gets one copy, still that male can be affected, right? Yes, sir. That's the problem with sex-linked disorders, X chromosome-linked disorders with males. Males do not have a recessive males can never be carrier. Do you understand? For a sex-linked disorder, males can never be carrier. Write down. For a sex-linked disorder, bracket mein write down X chromosome. For a sex-linked disorder or a X chromosome, males can never be carriers. Because to be a carrier, you need one normal copy and one mutated copy. Males have just one copy. They can either be normal or affected, no carrier. So that is why color blindness is more prominent. This was a board's question. Why males are more colorblind, like more males are colorblind than females. Okay. So you can write around 8%. Around 8% of males are colorblind. And only 0.4% of females are colorblind in the world. Okay. 20 times more prevalence in males. So males are 20 times more prone to be colorblind because they have just one X chromosome. Okay.
Yes,
Color
sir.
blindness is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
I think I have an interesting pedigree question on color blindness. Would you like to do a question on color blindness, people?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Just give me 1 minute. Figure it out. What is that question? It's previous year's question. I was just going through some papers and I found it. Let's practice this. By the time I'm finding out, write down another one. Let's also complete hemophilia. Write down hemophilia. It is also sex-linked and recessive. So we will do a question which is for color blindness and hemophilia both. So write down hemophilia is sex-linked and recessive, just like color blindness. Yes, I found. This is for phenylketonuria. Before we go to color blindness, let me give you this one. Okay, I'm giving you one pedigree, everyone, to analyze. Oh, what happened? Sorry. It was asked in 2015 last. But we have to do it. Okay, it's not associated with color blindness, but let's do it. In the meantime, I will find for color blindness. Yes, can you see the question? Question number 18. It's from previous year's papers. It has come in 2015. Can you see this pedigree, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Solve this quickly within a minute. It's very easy. Whoever gives me the answer fastest and correct will give half marks extra in the test. Bonus half marks. Fastest first and correct. You all can still see the question, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. Oh, I received one. I will tell who has got extra half marks in the test. People, answer quickly. So the person who has answered it incorrect. So you have lost the contention to get that half mark extra. I like doing this actually. People, it's simple. Rifat, what are you looking at? Let's see who is it. Okay. 2 people have given wrong answers and have lost the chance. Like you two can give me the right answer, but you will not be considered fastest and correct, because that way you can just keep on giving one A, B, C, D, all the fastest. Yes, Atif, this one is the right answer, but you cannot be, because you were first wrong. I hope you'll agree. Okay. Next time. Someone can still win it because the fastest ones are wrong. So who's going to be the first, fastest and correct? There is just one catch in this. So Atif, do you understand what was the catch? You figured out, right? I think.
Yes,
There's
sir.
just one trick. Yes. Quick, quick, quick. I'm receiving no answers. Yes. You are also correct this time, Rifat. But you know, you were wrong the first time, so. God. How many of you have experienced that feeling where you know that you are going to sneeze, but you do not sneeze?
Many times, sir.
Yeah. I'm about to sneeze, but it's not coming out. Okay, Rifat, correct. Fatima, that's incorrect. So you also lost your contention. Hiba, you're the only one left. Tell me, if you give the right answer, that's going to be a very, very ironical one. Hiba, are you there? Are you solving it?
Yes, sir.
Will Hiba be the lucky tortoise among the rabbits? The rabbits were all wrong in the first attempt. Come on, Hiba. Yes, Fatima, you're right. In the second attempt, but either Hiba will get half marks extra or no one will get any marks. Hiba, please, quick. Are you going to tell us tomorrow? With surety? No. Okay, no one gets half marks extra. I like this. Everyone's first answer was D, which is wrong answer. The right answer is A. It cannot be X-linked. Atif, why it cannot be X-linked? Though it looks like an X-linked very much. And this is why it has come in an entrance. Everyone will click this and will get 0 plus negative 0.25 marks as well. But this is not the right answer. Atif, tell me, you were the first one to give the right answer actually, after
So
giving the wrong. Yes. Why is it not the X-linked?
if it is X-linked, then all the males should be affected.
In which generation?
In the first generation itself.
Why? Yeah, it is sex linked. So it is on the X chromosome already. Male has only one X chromosome, right? Which is
No, sorry,
diseased.
sir.
To figure out whether it is X-linked or autosomal, you have to read the whole pedigree. See, one thing is clear. It is present in all generations, so it cannot be recessive, right? Sorry, it's present in all generation, but if you see, it's absent here. Third generation. Do you see this? If you just look this part of the pedigree, everyone, can you see this part of the pedigree?
Yes, sir.
Present, absent, present. So this gives you a hint. You have to be careful while studying pedigrees. And to just give Atif's answer, because he's not giving me the right answer. If it was a X-linked disorder, then do you see this mother here? She's affected, right?
Yes.
And so she will have diseased, both the X's disease, right?
Yes.
If you say this is D, then it is X-linked recessive, then both the X will be diseased. Then these two sons cannot be normal, right? Yes or no? Make sense, Atif, Fatima, Rifat, Hiba. If this is X-linked recessive, then this mother is going to be having both the X chromosomes diseased, and mothers give X chromosome to the sons. Fathers do not give X chromosome. And in son, there is only one X chromosome. The sons have to be affected, right? How are these two normal?
Yes.
Which means it is not X-linked. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes. So if it is not X-linked recessive, then the next thing is it is recessive, but it has to be autosomal recessive. So you go for A. This is the right answer. Understood, people? So still you need some practice in pedigree, but I'm happy that you are actually getting faster, but you are not getting correct, Abhi. So let me give you, okay, let's complete the hemophilia. Write down. You wrote that hemophilia is a sex-linked and recessive one. This you have written.
Yes, sir.
Now write down. In this disease, a single protein among a group of proteins, a single protein from the group of proteins which is responsible for blood clotting is affected. A single protein from the group of proteins which is responsible for blood clotting is affected. And this protein is very important in this signaling. So in hemophilia, whenever there is a cut in that affected person's body, you will not be able to stop bleeding. You know, that's very, very problematic a condition. You will not be able to stop bleeding till the wound, the muscular layer heals, because the blood will not clot. So whenever there is a cut in the body, do you think when the blood stops flowing, it means the wound has healed? The two parts, the separated parts of the skin tissue has merged? No, right? It's the blood that has clotted and filled the gap, right? So first the blood clots,
Yes,
and then within that blood, the skin reforms. The formation of skin takes time, it takes days. And after it is reformed, you can take that clotted blood out, right? It comes out as a clot. You understand? It has a term
Yes.
for it. What do you call that clot in Hindi? Khurant. Is it that? After a wound, when the skin is healed inside, that part can just be peeled out, right? If you peel it prematurely, the wound will again be open. You understand what I'm talking about? The clot, basically.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the skin healing takes time. So in these people which has hemophilia, you have to keep the blood stopped through some artificial means. You have to like keep it bandaged or like sew it or put what do you say, um, stitches. Only then the blood can stop, otherwise it will keep flowing, it will never clot. So write down, in these individuals, in affected individuals, blood does not clots after a injury or cut. Blood does not clots after an injury or cut. Okay.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
looking for a question on hemophilia. They also ask you questions like this. Some pedigree question, please. Next point, write down the possibility of a female hemophilic, female is extremely rare. It's extremely rare. This is a board's question also. Write down why a hemophilic female is rare. And whoever will give me the right answer, abhi, like logically, soch ke, will give like, no, I cannot keep giving marks like this, but will give some I'll give some appreciation. Tell me, why is it very, very rare to have a hemophilic woman? People, to make a hemophilic woman, what do you need in parents? Think like that. Rifat, yes. Tell me. To be a hemophilic female, what should be the parents like? What should be the parents be? Your voice is not, I'm not able to hear you properly if you're speaking. Anyone can hear Rifat? Atif, what do you think? To make a hemophilic female.
A hemophilic female requires that both the both X chromosomes be defective.
How can it happen? Yes, you're right. In a hemophilic female, both X chromosomes has to be defected because it's a sex-linked recessive disorder. So how can both the chromosomes be defected? What is the only possibility?
Yeah, the only possibility is that the male must be affected and the female must either be affected or must be a carrier.
Yes, so it means males cannot be carriers, right?
Yes.
So write down this question first. It's also a board's question. So write down the question. Why hemophilic female is rare? So write down. Hemophilic female has to be X hemophilic and X hemophilic, right? This is the only possibility. And for that, the parents has to be, the mother has to be either X hemophilic, X normal, or X hemophilic, right? Yes, everyone?
Yes, sir.
And the father has to be for sure X hemophilic and another is Y, right?
Yes, sir.
Father has to be affected. Now, if a male is affected and is hemophilic, it is very rare for this male to survive his childhood, become adult, marry a woman, and give rise to a kid. They mostly do not live till their adulthood, because there are always some kind of infection or something. You cannot live without any infection, or there could be an internal wound as well, which can just make blood leaking out. And internally, if blood starts leaking out, we call it hemorrhage. You know about hemorrhage? You must have heard brain hemorrhage.
Yes, sir.
Hemorrhage is an internal bleeding which makes the blood deposit in some tissues, and it creates pressure, and that leads to bursting of the blood vessels or damages other structures. So these males mostly die. They never survive to give rise. And then this affected male has to either marry a carrier for hemophilia, which is again very, very rare a condition that you will find. Your bad luck is so good that you are hemophilic affected male and you find a female who's hemophilic carrier. If she is hemophilic affected, then she will also be a patient. Now, two hemophilic patients will not marry each other, right? If they know that they are hemophilic. And you cannot not know that you are hemophilic. So this possibility is extremely rare. So this will not happen. One thing can happen is the female is not aware. She's a carrier and the male is affected, and they both got married and they had a daughter who was hemophilic. Again, in that case, that daughter has to get this X, not this one. If she gets this one, she's saved. Yes?
Yes,
So you
sir.
understand why hemophilic females are rare? Write down first, the fathers, the hemophilic male are mostly not viable or alive to give rise to offsprings. And second reason, the female also has to be either carrier or affected. Now this kind of, remember I told you about consanguineous marriages? This will be the last topic we'll be discussing. In genetics, the practice of marrying to distant people, like the person you are getting married to should not belong to your family or should not belong to some close gene association, is very healthy with respect to genetics, because the more distant partner you will have, the more variations in genes that partner will be having. Close marriages over time leads to accumulation of recessive traits, because recessive traits can only show phenotype when they come from both the parents. So if over, let's say, if this trends keeps on happening over generations, so this used to happen. Hemophilia is known as the royal disease. You know that why it's called royal disease? Hemophilia runs in the royal family of Great Britain. Okay, so Queen Victoria was actually a carrier for that disease, and from there, and you know, royal to preserve the royalness or the royal blood, they do not marry very, very distantly. Only recently it has started that now the princes like the Charles and others have started, not Charles, Harry and others have started marrying women who are not from the royal family or not associated to any duke or royal family of Scotland or England or Great Britain or Ireland. Earlier, they only used to marry, kings used to marry other kings' daughters. So it was getting more and more narrower and narrower over time. So all the sort of families, cultures, practices where consanguineous marriages are promoted, over time you will see that it start affecting your genotypic health. Okay, in the beginning it will be great to preserve certain genes, And, and if let's say the gene is for eye color or for very beautiful facial features, then you will see that the whole khandan has very good eye color, good facial features. So they will like, oh, this is a very good thing. But over time, your recessive traits will also keeps accumulating. And this has started recently in 2017. It was a report that in Pakistan, there are the most number of cases of microencephaly. You know what is microencephaly? It's a rare brain developmental disorder. What does the word micro means? Micro. People, micro. Quick. Small. Encephalon. What is the scientific name of brain? Diencephalon. We have two regions. So microencephaly is the where the brain does not develops properly. It's a rare genetic recessive condition. Now this was seen a lot in kids. This has to be very rare, like 1 in some millions or some kids should get microencephaly. But in Pakistan, the cases of microencephaly among kids started rising. And then the study suggested that lots and lots of consanguineous marriages were happening due to cultural preferences, and it should not have happened because that gave rise to over generation the accumulation of that recessive trait, the recessive disorder. So write down, hemophilia is called the royal disorder as it runs in the pedigree of the royal family. As Queen Victoria was a carrier for this disease, for this disorder. So many descendants in royal family are carriers, many. And now whenever they get married, instead of while matchmaking, instead of looking at whether the girl or the boy comes from a royal family or not, they must be going to hospitals and doing a genetic analysis to figure out whether the other partner is also carrier. If the other partner also becomes a carrier, then it's a catastrophe. In the next generation, you will have hemophilic kids who will just be born and then die of the disease because we do not have a cure for this disease yet. Is it clear, everyone? Yes. So consanguineous marriages, according to biology and logic, should be avoided as much as they can. Over time, they lead to accumulation of recessive traits. Okay. Very good. So I think let me also tell you. So you have written about hemophilia, color blindness. Write down sickle cell anemia as well. We have already done it, but just write down sickle cell anemia is autosomal, but that is also recessive. Autosomal recessive. I have already told you above. It is autosomal recessive. And it affects a single base in the a single base in the hemoglobin gene. So a single base gets mutated. And if you exactly want to know what mutates, then I don't know if it has been asked. I have not seen this question, but you should know that normally glutamate converts into valine. Okay. So this is normal. And if it converts into this becomes sickled. Just by one single base mutation, this disease happened. And the whole shape of the RBC changes. It's very, very interesting actually. And it happens in the, just to know this, it happens in the beta chain of hemoglobin. You all must be knowing that hemoglobin is a pentameric protein, right? Yes or no? Sorry, tetrameric. It has 4 different big chunks which come together to make one protein. In the core of, in the center, there will be iron mole. That's why we say that iron is important for blood. Heme word comes from iron, and hemoglobin is heme in the center, iron is in the center, and then protein are at the periphery. Okay, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so this you have to know about sickle cell anemia. Okay, so I think in the next class, I will start with some pedigrees, and we have to study some more disorders like thalassemia and phenylketonuria. I have already told you about phenylketonuria, right? Where have I told you about phenylketonuria? Pleiotropic gene, yes? Have I told you
Yes.
about phenylketonuria? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes? Yes, okay. So phenylketonuria, again, it's an inborn error. So I will just briefly tell you about that. And thalassemia is very important. We have to read about thalassemia. And then I will come to chromosomal disorders. And in the next class, we will end this chapter. So this chapter will end and chapter 6 will start. So do not miss the classes, because now in chapter 6, we are going on the molecular level. It's going to be more in-depth genetics. You have studied the fundamentals, the laws, the chromosomal aberrations, the genetic analysis, pedigree, everything. Mutations. Now it is to apply it and how it happens at the molecular level in 6th chapter. So in the next class, we'll finish with this chapter. Before I start 6th chapter, in the next class, I will have a previous year's question session where we will solve at least 10 to 15 previous year's questions, okay? From previous year's exams,
Yes.
entrance. Okay, anyone has any doubt? You can ask the doubts now. Otherwise, I end the class. Any doubt, people?